This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. Delighted as always to be joined by Mr. Joe Fournier. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Out in the sunny desert of Dubai.
We've had snow and horrendous weather here over the last few days, but we're not jealous at all where you are, don't worry.
All right.
How's things over there? You training, obviously?
Training hard, and planning to fight March 12th here with MTK on the next show. So excited to get back and being active again.
Yeah, MTK announced their Dubai fight series, through from February, March and April. Some really, really good fights on some of them cards. So we're looking forward to watching them, and obviously IFL will be involved in streaming them as well. But Joe, it must be just a relief to kind of have a date and know that you'll be returning.
Yeah, I mean, it was really nice to, since I signed with MTK a few weeks back, it's been nonstop. So the training's been great. The infrastructure around me's been great. Deciding the fights have been great. So I kind of feel like I'm back, like internally, I'm excited. Whatever happens next, that the next fight's in the diary. I got to train. I got to stop being out in my clubs and having a good time.
Oh dear. Well, Joe, I will give you some props for a prediction that you made. I don't know if it was a prediction. Obviously, you knew and you told us what you told us. But a few weeks ago, you told me in our last interview that McGregor versus Logan Paul wasn't going to be happening, especially on that date it was proposed for. And the reports I'm seeing now, I don't know how accurate the reports are, but there are a lot of reports to suggest that fight or exhibition won't be taking place on the proposed date that they had scheduled in February. So you obviously knew a little bit more than what you were letting on, but that's basically what you said, that fight ain't happening on that date.
And I can mark my words, Mayweather is not fighting Logan Paul. You've heard it here first. That fight isn't happening. It's not true. And I know that for a fact.
Really?
Well, some guy called me and asked me. Listen, someone called me up and asked me to put up the money for it, like literally 2 weeks ago. So I know the money hasn't been raised because they've asked me for the dough. So if I haven't, and I haven't written the check. So how's it been announced? How's it happening? What's happened is they put it out there with a view to try and convince some governments and some tourism boards to try and raise the cash to make it happen. So I'm sure one party said, give me 200 million. The other party said, give me 40 million. And then whatever will work out at pay-per-view. But that 200 or that 100, the guarantee needs to come from somewhere. And they asked me for the dough. So I can tell you right now to your face, I would got a phone call saying, we need X amount of money to put this fight on here. Will you give it to us, Joe Fournier? I'm basically Logan Paul's boss if I pay for that. Do you see what I'm saying? So how is Jake talking to Connor? I don't even understand.
Well, we'll wait and see. I mean, all I know is that they've put formal announcements on their social media pages. The pay-per-view, you can buy the pay-per-view now, as far as I know. So, All
right, where is it?
Somewhere in America.
How can you announce a fight without a city?
Okay. Well, listen, we'll see the way it pans out, because February isn't that long away at all. So.
No.
All right. I'm sure people will refer back to this interview if what you say materialises that way.
Look, at the end of the day, I'm a businessman, right? Before I was a boxer. So I know how money works. I'm good at that bit. And I know how business works. And I told you, they asked me for the money. They said, do you want to invest in this to put on this show? And I know the numbers, and then they don't make sense to governments. They don't make sense to boxing promoters. They don't make sense to pay-per-view. And I knew when I passed on it, put it this way, if it gets to me, that means a lot of bigger people than me said no. So I knew at that point it was just pure desperation. That fight's going to happen. No one really wants to see Logan Paul fight Floyd Mayweather. They would want to see Floyd Mayweather fight another legend like himself, but not a YouTuber that's 0-1 or whatever his pro record is. I mean, it's getting a bit ridiculous. Not that I'm hating it, because I'm happy for everyone to make their money. I'm happy for people to cut the corner if they can outsmart the system, But essentially, it's just, there's greed in it. And people just doing it purely for the money, trying to trick the viewers. And rightly so, I think they couldn't come up with the cash. So they came to Uncle Fournier for a few $100 million. And I said, nope, I'm keeping it in the bank. Thank you very much.
Joe, you know, like Mayweather, Logan Paul, and then Jake Paul, McGregor, you know the real fight here? The real fight here is Logan Paul against Jake Paul. I think a lot of people would be more interested in seeing those two brothers go at it.
Yeah, that'll be the quickest, 20, 30 million quid they'll both make each. That I'll invest in, because that'll be a close fight. One's a big lump, right? That ain't that good. One's a bit more technical, but isn't as big. And, there's a variable there. You can't put legends in the fight world that we all know have achieved and changed the sport, between McGregor in MMA and Mayweather in boxing. They really changed the sport to a whole different kettle of fish, and you can't go from totally different sectors. It's like putting me in charge of an oil company. What do I know about oil, right? Give Joe the CEO job at Aramco, or Microsoft. You can't just take skills from one business and put them in the other. Same with being a YouTuber and a fighter. You can't just, okay, go fight this legend because you're a legend in this world. It doesn't work like that. But yeah, I think I like that fight, Jake Paul against Logan Paul. Just after I knock out Jake Paul, please.
Well, I mean, look, the last couple of interviews, we know you've been very vocal about, you've put offers in and stuff to fight Jake Paul. You put ridiculous amounts of money in bets and with his coaches, with BJ Flores and all this kind of stuff was going on. So what is the situation with that? How likely is that Jake Paul and yourself could actually get it on?
I think Jake Paul is very cleverly managed, to give him his dues. They know that if he was going to fight a fighter of my caliber, relatively to him, that he would lose, and he would lose comprehensively. So when we were talking about me fighting, there was an excess of $10 million he wanted. He wanted closer to 20, apparently, through the promotion, where he would even entertain a conversation of fighting me. But again, everyone can price themselves out of a deal, because at $20 million, that's a lot of pay-per-view sales to have a guy that hasn't fought in 2 years and owns a bunch of nightclubs all over the world against a YouTuber that's never fought anyone that's had a professional fight before. It's not the easiest selling ticket, right? That being said, you can probably I'm sure there'd be enough action. People would want to see me hurt him. But when you're asking for a 20 million minimum guarantee, I mean, there's better place
to fight you a minimum of 20 million. What, dollars?
Dollars, yeah.
Dollars,
$20 million. And that wasn't even a yes. That was, I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Which is double what he got paid last fight, right? Because I'm I'm going to punch back. In the worst case scenario, whatever, however everyone sees it, I'm still going to stand there and I can take a punch. I can punch him back. Everyone else he fought can't do either. No disrespect, If I played Nate Robinson in a one-on-one, I would, he'd win. But this is boxing. So, also, I think he's just like really desperate as well, because, there is so much dislike for the guy now everywhere I go. And don't get me wrong, not many people like me either. Right? But there's so much dislike for the guy. It makes me look like Mary Poppins. I mean, the guy, everyone hates him. And I think there's a sweet spot of being hated, a bit like Prince Nassim Hamed. People kind of didn't like his cockiness, but he was amazing enough that in the end, some people watch to see him lose, some people watch to see him win, but even people respected the skill and the talent. Floyd Mayweather, another one, right? But even Conor McGregor at some point, when he was really cocky, that created his brand. But at the end of the day, he stood there and he delivered, and they all delivered, all three of those guys, in front of world-class opposition. You can't go and put a basketball player unconscious on the canvas and be like, look at me, I'm a legend. It's not how I see it anyway. I don't know how the viewers see it, but it is a bit ridiculous.
What did you make of his reaction to Conor McGregor's knockout loss to Poirier over the weekend? He put the 15-second clip up saying that, he could have had 50 million. Now he's offering him 10,000 cash. What did you make of that reaction from Jake Paul?
Well, I'm a Conor McGregor fan. I'm a big Ireland fan, so I'm a bit biased. I don't like any of that when it comes to Jake Paul and Conor, because I'm a Conor fan. That being said, it was kind of funny. But the 50 million, what I want to ask Jake Paul is, where did you get this 50 million from? Because, you know, you might want to check your tax returns. You've never even grossed 50 million in your whole life. So have you got 50 million to offer Conor McGregor 50 million? I think 10 grand, he's probably got 10 grand somewhere lying around. But I think once he's paid for his entourage and airplanes going down Miami Beach saying, Conor, you're too scared to fight me, I think he's going to run out of dough pretty quick. So 10 grand is realistic. He probably has it in the bank. 50 mil, show it to us. Let's see if it was real. Write the check, send it to the bank, put it in escrow. Because I can say, I'll give you $10 billion, let's fight. I don't have $10 billion, right? So no one fact checks him on a lot of his bullshit. And when it comes to money, I know a thing or two.
Okay, well, look, like I said, we don't know what's going to happen now. Obviously, Conor McGregor was meant to be fighting after this Manny Pacquiao. We don't know. Saw Manny Pacquiao put out a tweet from the other night. We don't know whether that's still going to take place after he's lost. We literally don't know. So it's interesting, all these different... And Ryan Garcia's now being linked with a fight with Manny Pacquiao because he put it on his Instagram, like a mock-up poster of them two fighting. So... Who knows what the hell's going on?
If I was to guess, Paradigm Sports manages Manny Pacquiao, and they also manage Conor McGregor. So it's much easier to do a deal when you got two fighters being managed by the same person, right? So if I was to guess, I would put Conor McGregor and Manny Pacquiao fighting each other because that's a great fight. Conor McGregor made a good account of himself against Floyd Mayweather, way better than, you know, a lot of people expected. I think that's fair to say. And I think that it would be an interesting bout now he's back in action, whether it was MMA or boxing, for people to watch that. And I think from a financial point of view, it'll make a lot more money than Conor McGregor versus Jake Paul. And that's just, that's a fact. I think also... it would be great for Manny Pacquiao to really test himself against a guy that's durable and tough. And he obviously learned a lot fighting Floyd Mayweather in the ring. You know, that was his first pro boxing fight. So I think I'd rather watch that personally. And I think Jake will probably maybe get a Dylan Dennis, kind of like some guy that can't fight boxing. It's not fair to say he can't fight. He's a great fighter. But he's a ground guy. That makes sense for Jake because he's bigger than him. He might have a chance of, doing a little bit with his basic boxing skills. So I reckon Dylan Dennis fights Jake Paul next. And I think Manny Pacquiao fights Conor McGregor next. Logan Paul is never going to fight Floyd Mayweather, in my opinion, because no one's going to pay for it unless they both decide they're skint and they need to make some dough and they reduce their guarantees. You know, the fight I want to see, totally off topic, is Joe Joyce versus Usyk.
Yeah, I'd like to see that as well, to be fair.
Oh, man, I really want to see that. And, anyway. So that's where we're at. I think I'm going to try to maybe head out to Miami. And I've seen Jake Paul's been sparring down at the Fifth Street Gym, which is my gym. So I don't know if he's doing that to wind me up, but maybe I'll go down there and start winding him up a little bit.
Why not? Make sure someone's got a camera with you.
Yeah. You might need a little holiday after the baby's born.
I've got a baby due in 3 weeks, so I ain't going anywhere at the minute. But if you have someone following you with a camera, we'll happily take that footage. Okay, well, Joe, it's good to catch up. We'll catch up with you again before March the 12th, which is not too long away, less than 2 months away. So wish you the best of luck and the rest of your camp for that, and it'll be good to see you back in action again.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. And Jake, if you're watching this, see you in Miami.
Joe Fournier, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV, and we'll definitely catch up with you again soon.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Take care.